Okay, so Callum has a fairly. Oh, he's gone. That's good. You know, we go live, and I lose my partner. He's back. Yes. Look, Callum, I just have to point out these flowers. As a fairly new person to this show, you're probably not aware, but people are always checking out the flowers that my mum puts in there. She is my official set dresser. So these are from her friend's garden. So just so everyone can appreciate. Yeah, well, actually, I'll tell you what. While I put these back, let's roll the bumper and get on with the show. Hello everyone, and welcome to Timed Out. Oh, sorry, I've got to get myself into position now. It's all happening. I've lost the plot. Hello, Callum. How are you? How is everyone today?
Very well, Melinda. It's great to be back. Had a great time the last few shows, and thankfully, again, the selectors have decided to have me back. I can't believe it. So, just going to throw everything I've got at this episode again, and see if I get another go next week again.
I'm looking at you as a long-term selection. I've seen enough to impress me, and as chief selector of this show, that's I'm the only one you've got to really impress. So you're doing pretty well. And what a crazy week! What an absolutely bonkers week it feels like we've had in the world of cricket. It's been rather eventful, hasn't it?
It's all been happening. I mean, you look at the ODI series that's just kicking off with the Australian women and the Indian women. Virat Kohli stepping down from T20 captaincy, and a couple of tours cancelled to Pakistan. There's been plenty to talk about, and no doubt we'll cover off a lot of these topics over the next 20-odd minutes.
We certainly will. Now, if you are joining us live, welcome to you, and please do feel free to drop a comment or a question into the live chat, and if we're able to, we'll include that in the show as well. So, and give us a like and a subscribe too, if you go, just so that you can keep in touch with when we're going to be on with Timed Out. Now, our first topic for the day, well, it's a pretty serious one, and let's face it, this is the biggest story in cricket of the week. Pakistan, following on from New Zealand withdrawing from the tour, now the ECB have cancelled their tour. It was only going to be 4 days long, 2 back-to-back T20s. In a bit of an odd statement, I would have to say, the ECB weren't citing security issues. It was more about mental well-being of the players. So that has made a lot of people in Pakistan very upset and very angry, players, officials, and I can tell you from my Twitter feed, for the fans as well. Cal, you're someone, who's obviously had a lot of experience with Pakistan cricket. How have you sort of looked upon what's happened over the past week?
Oh, look, it's absolutely devastating. I mean, I've, having just recently played in the Pakistan Super League, albeit in the UAE, just the sense that you get of the passion of the fans, and how desperate they are to see cricket back in Pakistan and being played, or getting the opportunity to see their national side live. They're just so desperate for more cricket, and it's so upsetting to everyone in the world of cricket, I think, that once again, we're going to miss out on cricket being played in Pakistan. And, look, for the players, for the fans, they've all been looking forward to it. It seemed like everything was heading in the right direction. The Pakistan Super League started this year's tournament in Pakistan, then had COVID interject, and now this happens. It's absolutely soul destroying, I can imagine, for everyone involved over in Pakistan, and you just want to see them get an opportunity to show their passion at the ground live, don't you, the fans? And I've got no doubt there'll be an outpour of emotion on social media over the next few weeks. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, there has been. I mean, look, it's a difficult one. We all know that player security is obviously has to be at the forefront of a lot of decisions. But there's an article by George DeBell that's just gone up on ESPN Cricinfo, and I'll give it a shout out. He does point to the fact that, in 2017, when you look at the Champions Trophy, there was that devastating terrorist attack in London, and I was there for that tournament. Massive security. There were cordoned off blocks around the stadium, a real increase in security over in England, but it went ahead. And a lot of people have pointed to the fact that Pakistan have toured countries like New Zealand and England in these COVID hit times, which has really helped those boards out. How much do you think that the rest of the world needs to take responsibility? I'm going to ignore the countdown, Muku, because I just want to hear Callum's thoughts on this. So even if the duck comes, we're ignoring it. Because I just want to hear how much responsibility, and I guess I'm looking at Australia. They're due to tour Pakistan next February, March, the Australian men. Now the England men and women have pulled out as well. There's a feeling that Ramiz Raja has spoken about the Western Bloc and kind of included Australia in that. So with an eye ahead to that, just how much do you think the rest of the world needs to actually really show some support to Pakistan? And that includes, I guess, touring there.
Yeah, I think there's a huge responsibility on the boards around the world to try to facilitate tours of Pakistan where possible. And, you know, it's absolutely devastating to hear that this English tour is more of a player welfare, mental well-being line that's being wheeled out with regards to cancelling this tour. You know, it concerns me that after so long with no cricket in Pakistan, that we're choosing a tour there to cancel on the back of player mental well-being. We all understand how important it is to maintain mental health and make sure we're doing everything we can to stay sane. But certainly, I feel like that's a really tough one to swallow for the Pakistan board. I can only imagine, because there's so many money tournaments that the players are playing around the world at the moment where they are earning big dollars. Perhaps the tour to a country that hasn't seen international cricket or enough of it in the last 4, 5, 6 years, that may not have been the right one to cancel. I feel like there's probably somewhere else we could have made that up, as an international playing group. But unfortunately, I don't know enough about what's happening within the ECB to make too much more of a comment than that. But I think there's a huge responsibility on the cricket boards around the world to get cricket happening back in Pakistan if it's deemed to be safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a comment there from Wakas Tareen, who says, this is very upsetting, was brought to tears over this. This means a lot to the people in Pakistan. Wakas, I'm not going to tell you I understand how you feel, because I don't know what it's like to not have cricket played in Australia or England for 10 years. But I can certainly sympathise with how you and a lot of fans are feeling, and I'm sure we all can. And just hope that Australian tour can go ahead next year. And I understand they really wanted to, so I hope that it is able to go ahead. Right, difficult one. We could talk about an awful lot about that, but okay. Mookie saves it for me. Well done, Mookie. Okay, you can stop now. All right, time for our next topic. It is number 2. I think it's to do with Virat Kohli. Yes, Virat Kohli. He's hanging up his captaincy armband for T20 cricket, not just for India, but also for RCB. So that is, in any other week, that probably would have been the biggest story in world cricket. But what do you think of this, Callum? Is it a good move? I think it certainly does show his commitment to ODI and Test cricket at a time when a lot of people think players don't care enough about Test cricket.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love watching Virat go about it in all 3 formats, but his passion for Test cricket, he shows it on the field, he shows it off the field, when he's watching his teammates from the viewing room. This guy is exactly what Test cricket needs and needed, and to see him make this decision brings me a lot of joy, and certainly I think will pave the way for a lot of other cricketers that do make a lot of money in the game outside of Test cricket and one-day cricket and T20 cricket for their country. To see him prioritising Test cricket for his nation is just a wonderful thing to see. And, he's got great character. We all know that. He's a great competitor in all three formats. But, yeah, I'm just really pleased because I think it sets a great standard for the younger generations coming through behind him, not just in India, where the money is so great for T20 cricket, but also for young players around the world, that this guy who is, arguably the best batsman in the world in all three formats, he's prioritising Test cricket, and that sets a great standard for the young players around the world.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the IPL kicking off. I mean, he's been with RCB for so long, and obviously they've famously not won a tournament. They've made the finals, but not won in the end. But for Virat himself, do you think he hasn't scored as many runs as consistently in the last couple of years in Test cricket in particular? Do you think that actually just giving up the responsibility of all those extra captaincy roles might help him generally in his run scoring?
Yeah, look, I think it will. I think it'll help him probably just have a little bit more mental energy to put into his batting and allow him to be, probably just freed up a little bit in that format in particular to just enjoy his cricket. And, I think that'll no doubt help him just feel a little bit more fresh, a little fresher going into some of these other tours where Test cricket and one-day cricket are the priority. Look, I think that, we've seen other great batsmen around the world, not just Virat in the last 6 to 12 months, but also, Joe Root 12, 18 months ago, there were a lot of people saying that he was having a few battles as well. Steve Smith at times hasn't been at his best recently, but what we do know is we've seen all of those players bounce back. And I think this could be a little trigger for him to have a real bounce back in a really big next 2 years.
Well, let's see. I'm sure India fans will be hoping to see that. I was just waiting for the duck.
Yeah, it didn't come.
Mookie's on it. He's waiting for his moment to strike. Okay, our next topic up for the day, the IPL resuming, moving on for that. I mean, it's a weird one in the way it's been split the way it is, and how some got quite a few players now who haven't gone back to the IPL, replacements being brought in. We've had a couple of games so far. What has struck you so far?
Oh, look, just I think everyone who's interested in cricket is putting their eyes on the IPL now, and obviously the one-day series happening here with the Indian women and the Australian women. But the big clash between hang on, who was that? Mumbai and
it was Kolkata.
That skipped me for a second there, but what a great clash to start the tournament off with, and obviously seeing Mumbai go down first game of the year will certainly hurt a lot of their supporters. They're quite bullish going into this season, the fans, from what I've seen on Twitter. But certainly Chennai are a dangerous team, and they showed that in the first game. These two teams are going to be right up there in the top few at the end of this season as well. And it's just a great way to kick off the tournament, having two powerhouses going at it.
Yeah, it's become an absolute classic, hasn't it? That clash throughout, have sort of formed their own real classic clash, I guess. How much do you think, looking at this, are we going to be paying a lot of attention in this, not just to the individual games themselves, but to conditions and how they might change over the next few weeks in the UAE, bearing in mind T20 World Cup is coming, and also the players as well. That this is some of for them, it's also beyond being a competition in its own right, the build up to the T20 World Cup.
Yeah, look, it's a dress rehearsal for a lot of these players, whether it's the local players from India or the overseas players. I mean, they're all trying to push for selection in their own international teams back home. One thing that really struck me was to see Josh Hazlewood having such an impact first up. Hasn't played a lot of IPL cricket, but to see him step up and strike early was great to see as an Australian here. But what I did notice in the Pakistan Super League in the UAE was just how important that new ball is. And if you can make early inroads, it can make it very difficult for the opposition. On the other side of the coin, though, if you do manage to get through that first 6 with minimal damage and get off to a bit of a start, the scores can be high. So I find it really exciting cricket over in the UAE, particularly in the T20 format. And I think it's going to be a real indication as to what the trends are going to be like in the World Cup this year. It's really exciting.
It is, and the unknown of Oman as well, I think, is going to be a really interesting one to see. We don't know what to expect there. Yes, yeah. Miku, you can go.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Bless him. He's trying not to interrupt us. All right, next topic up for this big week. Stellar finish for the Blast. Kent Spitfires, well, they have broken a 12-year drought, trophy drought. The Sam Billings in particular. Look at that smile. He's so happy. I mean, I'm really lucky in that I've attended several finals days now, and it's unlike anything else in cricket that I've ever been to. It is an incredible atmosphere. The excitement that goes over the whole day. It's an exhausting day, I can tell you, especially if you've got to work. But it's something really special. And we were treated to a brilliant catch. Jordan Cox had a real day out. But what did you make of Kent's victory in the end? Great to see Darren Stevens part of a winning team.
Yeah, look, he was the first one I was going to mention. I mean, what a season he's had. Ripe old age of 42, is it? Or is he pushing
I think that's right.
Now, I think. Yeah, so, look, there was a famous quote that came out of the back end of the finals day was that Darren Stevens said to his teammates, get me to finals day and I'll win a tournament. And, geez, what an impact he had in the first semi-final. He absolutely wellied the ball to all parts and was a huge part of the reason they made it to the final. And look to see Bell Drummond have such an impact as well. A real leader within that Kent lineup. He had a huge impact as well. So Klassen took 4 in the first semi-final, I think it was as well. They had some big impact performances from their key players, and that's what you need on finals day. And look, it is such a great event. I was absolutely devastated when I had to come back to train and play with the South Australian Redbacks a few years ago, but got to watch the Worcestershire Rapids win it, and I watched every ball until about 4 a.m. in the morning, I think it was, of the day. And it's just such a wonderful event. The crowd gets right behind it. You can't. They're swinging from the rafters and the trees outside the ground trying to get a view. It's just an event, and Birmingham's a great place to host it. It's a hell of an atmosphere there.
Yes, it's 3 miles from where I live, so I have to fly the flag for Birmingham. And just it's interesting that it seemed to be such a huge success off the back of the 100 as well. And I guess I had a lot of people saying, look, do we really need the 100 when we've got this a really great T20 product?
Yeah, look, I've always prided myself on having quite an open mind and being open to change and something a bit different. And I have been with regards to the 100, and I thought it was a great tournament. But when you see finals day and the passion that is still there from the original counties around the country, I do wonder whether the 100 is a necessity because, you look at the T20 competitions around the world, the IPL, the Big Bash League, the other fantastic tournaments, Pakistan Super League, they're so well followed already. The crowds are great. I just wonder whether it is something that we really need, but I am always open-minded. Yeah,
better for the women's game than for the men's, I reckon. Good on you, Miku. In there on me. Yeah. Speaking of women's, well, we've just had a brilliant display by Australia, who were far too strong in the end. Oh gosh, the graphic hasn't changed. It still says against England. Everybody, that is my fault. That was me sort of typing quickly today. So my fault that hasn't been changed. Of course it is against India. There has been a lot happening. It was an incredible display, led off by Darcy Brown and the debutante, Hannah Darlington. And really, India just didn't score enough runs. It was easy for Australia to pick them off in the end.
Yeah, look, it's a fantastic start for the Australians. I mean, coming into the start of this series, there was a lot of talk about how the pitch was going to play, and there was chat about the pace and bounce that was potentially going to be there for the fast bowlers, and didn't Darcy Brown exploit that so well? Just straight from the outset, and obviously, I'm not sure if you saw, but I'm pretty sure you did most of the game, but she certainly used the short ball to good effect. And having watched her a little bit around the South Australian Cricket Association here with the South Australian Scorpions, she's such a hard worker, very diligent with everything that's put out in front of her, and to see her get such a great result in just her second ODI is huge, and will certainly give her a lot of confidence going forward. But she's a really exciting talent. I mean, to have her and Hannah Darlington, both under 20 years of age, having such an impact. Darlington, 2 wickets in her first game on her debut. Just huge results, and just shows the depth that the Australian women's team have got at the moment, and that winning streak just continues on.
I mean, interestingly enough, the bowler who had probably the worst game out of the Australians, particularly by her own high standards, was Elise Perry, who looked pretty rusty. Do you think that she just didn't have her radar working? Do you think that's just rust of coming out of quarantine and lockdown and everything else?
Yeah, look, I think she probably hasn't had as much bowling in the last 12, 18 months as she had previously in her career, and it could just be, a few nerves as well. I mean, even a player as great as Elise Perry is going to feel some nerves at different stages, and I'd just put it down to a rough one first up, and she'll bounce back. She's a champion of the game, and certainly one of the most skillful batters and bowlers in the world. So she'll bounce back. There's no doubt about it. We'll just put it down to a few nerves.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Darcy Brown being so young, a year ago she wasn't even playing in the WBBL, and now she's the youngest player to have taken 4 wickets in an ODI for Australia. Do you see a way back for India from what you've seen so far?
They are an enormously talented lineup. I think they're going to need to be putting bigger scores on the board. There's no doubt about it. Certainly, with the pace and the bounce in the wickets, it's going to be good for scoring if you can get yourself in. So they're just going to need to make more runs. I can't see them knocking off the Australians, though. Yeah,
they are a formidable outfit. Wow, that was a lot to get into this show, Cal. You've done an incredibly good job, I think, bouncing around all these different topics. And so is the duck. He's on it. Our producer Muku. Huge week, and there's a lot more to come in the next week because, of course, there's more IPL. I imagine there'll be more reaction coming out of Pakistan, and of course, Australia and India are continuing in that series. We've got England and New Zealand playing. Everything happening everywhere. Absolutely. So I hope you're ready to watch a lot more stuff.
I can't wait. Honestly, just keep it coming.
This is why we love having you on the show. Brilliant to have you here. Thanks to all of you dropping by. Big shout out in particular, big hello and thoughts with all the Pakistan fans, because we know that you guys are doing it really tough at the moment. But I think a lot of the cricket world is hopefully backing you and thinking of you. But until next week, it's goodbye from us. And whatever you're watching this week, I hope you very much enjoy it. See you soon.
See you next week.